to talk for a few minutes about a powerful understanding that came about our awakening familiar spirits and calming our nervous system. So we grow up in environments where, those spirits around us, because we're all spirit, become very familiar. So their weaknesses, their strengths. So if you grew up in a home that has yelling or lying or abuse, cheating, all those things, even down to how good they were with the finances, all those kind of things, right? They're familiar spirits to us. And so typically when we go throughout life, we resonate with people who are familiar spirits to us. So even when you're dating spouses, whatever it is, friends, right? They have familiar spirits. And that's comfortable to us. It's comfortable. We recognize it, and so we seek those familiar spirits that are comfortable, that don't take us out of our comfort zone. So when we go through our awakening process, and we begin to awaken and evolve, our spirits begin to change. And in the process of that, those who are not going through their awakening process, it begins to make them very uncomfortable, because we are no longer familiar spirits to them. We are becoming, we are evolving, we are changing. And through that process, then it makes their spirit very uncomfortable, because we are no longer a familiar spirit to them. And so it causes that conflict, because our spirit is evolving and theirs is remaining in a process of still wanting that familiar spirit, and what is happening is not familiar to them. So it makes them very uncomfortable. It causes a lot of tension. So how do we begin to help others in their awakening process, but also seeing that they don't have to remain in the same state that they've always been? And that comes through healing our nervous systems. So when we heal our nervous systems, we realize that things like, yelling, contention, emotional freakouts, abuse, cheating, whatever it is that you grew up witnessing and thinking this is just familiar, your body has been stuck in fight or flight, and regulated to that fight or flight state of those familiar spirits. And what we want to do is take our nervous system and learn to calm it and quiet it. And that can be done through deep breath meditations, holding a breath, going in, inhaling, holding it for 8 seconds, and then releasing it, and then pausing for 8 seconds before you take another breath. Okay, that is deep breathing techniques that you can use. You can also use what's called a butterfly technique. It's very simple. At any time you can lock your thumbs together on your chest, and the pressure points right here on your shoulders, you can calmly tap back and forth, tap back and forth, and breathe as you do that. Tapping techniques are amazing for calming your nervous system. So as we realize what familiar spirits actually are, we realize why our awakening is making people so uncomfortable, and how we can begin to regulate our own nervous systems, because they've been stuck in this state of familiar spirits or chaos, whatever it is, for so long that to them, to our nervous system, that's familiar. And so we have to take our nervous system and now take it out of fight or flight, help our nervous system understand our body, that we are safe, and that it is okay to step into the new, and it's okay that we don't have to live in an environment of chaos, or whatever it is you're familiar with. If you're familiar with yelling or lying because you're afraid you're going to get in trouble, whatever it is, abuse, it doesn't matter. Learning to calm your nervous system, because when you do that, you're going to begin to attract different kinds of spirits that now are resonating with you on a higher frequency. But we can also have, at the same time, compassion and love for those who are still stuck in the in in what was familiar to them. And people don't like what's uncomfortable for them. And so if we can understand why they're so uncomfortable and why they're offended by what's happening, because you're no longer a familiar spirit to them. And so even, down to like, look at when people get married, right? They're two different people. And when you evolve and change, if the other person doesn't choose to do that with you, they can become very offended and uncomfortable with where you're at in your growth, because you're no longer a familiar spirit to them. So you can have a lot more love and compassion, seeing where people are at in their own process of ascension, which is why Joshua taught that you are to meet people where they're at, so that you can understand and extend that compassion and love to where they're at in their own progression. So I hope that this helps us understand familiar spirits better, how important it is to calm our nervous system, and truly what the awakening process is, and why so many people around us get offended when you are awakening and changing and evolving. Have a glorious day.